Two old men loved adventure and spent a lot of money to hunt a wild animal. They bought a lion, thinking it would be fierce. But when the box opened, the lion only yawned like a sleepy cat. It looked weak and harmless. The men were disappointed because they wanted an exciting hunt, but ended up with an old lazy animal the zoo didn't want. They thought about asking for their money back, but Walter suggested keeping the lion as a pet, and he would care for it. The men agreed, hoping it might become strong someday. A few days earlier, Walter's mother had sent him to a faraway countryside to stay with these uncles he barely knew. Walter's mother wanted him to get close to them so he might inherit something in the future. Walter disliked the place as soon as he arrived. The house looked extremely old, and angry dogs and a big pig attacked his pants. His mother introduced him to the uncles, who hardly knew who she was. They only agreed to keep Walter because she kept pushing. She left quickly, telling Walter to get along with them. The three sat quietly on the porch later. Walter wanted to call his mother, but learned there was no phone. Soon he saw why. A man came pretending to be important and asking about money. The uncles calmly picked up their rifles and scared him away. Many other greedy visitors came and were chased off the same way. Walter realized this happened every day. Walter had to sleep in the attic. There he found a wooden box with dry sand and a faded photo of a beautiful woman. Later he heard a strange noise and saw Uncle Hub sleepwalking near the river. Walter fell asleep outside watching him. In the morning he said nothing about Hub sleepwalking. Later greedy relatives arrived, hoping for inheritance. They didn't care about Walter and even said he should be sent to an orphanage. Hurt, Walter ran to a town phone booth, but the number his mother gave didn't work. Feeling abandoned, he tried to run away. But the uncles found him just in time. The next day, the uncles ignored the greedy relatives and gave only Walter a cold drink. Then a salesman arrived holding a white flag so he wouldn't get shot. Walter convinced the uncles to listen. He showed a frisbee throwing machine, and the uncles bought it happily. From then on, Walter launched frisbees, and the uncles practiced shooting them. That night, Hub sleepwalked again. Garth stopped Walter from waking him, saying it was dangerous. Walter became curious about Hub's past in the missing 40 years. That night, Garth finally shared part of the truth. In 1914, the brothers traveled across the ocean to explore the world, but soldiers drugged them, and they woke up on a ship headed to a war in North Africa. Garth was weak and nearly died many times, but Hub kept saving him. After the war, Garth stayed in Africa to learn more, while Hub continued fighting groups that captured people. During one mission, he rescued many women, including a princess's maid. Walter listened until Hub woke from another bad dream, and Garth stopped talking. Later, Walter looked again at the photo in the box and felt sure the woman in it was the princess from the story. Time passed quietly, and Walter slowly grew closer to his two uncles. They worked in the fields together. The next day, they went to town to buy supplies for the lion. While unloading the truck, Hub suddenly collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital, and Walter and Garth waited nervously. A woman whispered to Walter that the uncles were famous criminals and their money was dirty. The words worried him, so he begged Garth to continue the story from before. Garth explained that after Hub rescued many enslaved women, the princess wanted to meet the hero who risked his life. One day, while Hub rode along the beach, a masked rider challenged him. They raced fiercely until they fell into the water. When the rider removed the mask, it was the princess herself. They fell in love and chose to be together despite her being promised to another leader. When that leader tried to take her by force, Hub defeated many guards and brought her to safety.
And lived happily ever after.
Their peaceful life together began, but did not last long. Walter wondered why, if Hub had love and happiness, he never spoke about it. Before Garth could answer, Hub woke up in anger. Years of fighting made him dislike weakness, and the hospital made him feel old and helpless. Garth gently reminded him that even strong people must face sickness with dignity. Later, the three stopped at a restaurant. While eating, a group of rude young men entered and insulted Hub. After days of stress, Hub reached his limit. Garth simply warned him not to go too far and waited outside with a rifle just in case. But Hub handled the fight alone. Even after beating the boys, he helped them home and gave them frozen meat to ease their bruises. In all the chaos, Walter remembered he hadn't fed his lion. But when he reached the cage, the boards were broken. The lion had escaped. He panicked and searched until he learned that the greedy relatives had visited again. Their children had opened the cage out of curiosity, letting the lion wander into the cornfield. Everyone armed themselves and rushed to find the animal. Instead of danger, they saw Walter happily playing with the lion in the field. Only the relatives stayed scared and demanded the lion be removed. The uncles pretended to agree, but then decided the cornfield would become the lion's home since it was safe and open. After the relatives left, Hub gathered the boys he had fought and taught them about growing into better people. Meanwhile, Walter begged for the rest of the story. Garth continued. The angry chieftain put a huge reward on Hub's head. To end the threat, Garth disguised himself as a bounty hunter and brought Hub straight to the chieftain. After collecting the reward, the brothers fought their way out and escaped. Hub then challenged the chieftain fairly and won but spared his life. After discovering oil, the chieftain became rich and stopped seeking revenge. Walter didn't care about the money or the battles. He wanted to know what happened to the princess. Garth told him this answer had to come from Hub himself. That night, Walter approached Hub during his sleepwalking. After a long moment, Hub finally revealed the truth. The princess had died during childbirth, and the baby didn't survive either. Heartbroken, Hub returned to the army to escape his sadness. After wandering for decades, he settled into a quiet life, carrying pain he never shared. Walter struggled to believe the story because he felt betrayed ever since learning his mother lied to him. Hub explained that what mattered were the values in the story: courage, love, loyalty, honor, not the exact details. Walter listened to Hub's earlier advice to the young men and wished to grow into someone strong too. He asked Hub to stay healthy, and they promised that one day Walter would hear Hub's full manhood speech. Soon the seasons changed and the corn ripened. There was so much corn that they ate it every day for weeks. They bought a fishing boat and even managed to get an old second-hand airplane. One night, Walter looked at the princess's old photo and thought deeply about the uncles' strange past. Then he heard noises and secretly followed Garth to the barn. Garth lifted a loose wooden board, opened a hidden space, and pulled out a huge bundle of money. After he left, Walter checked the spot and found an even bigger pile of cash. He realized the uncles were not simple farmers at all. They were extremely rich. But he didn't know if the money came from a kind shake or from dangerous stories people whispered. The confusion and fear made Walter unsure of everything. Late that night, Walter's mother returned with a man who claimed to be a detective. Walter felt happy for a moment, but that disappeared when May cared only about the uncle's money. The man said the brothers were criminals and tried to scare Walter into revealing the hiding place. Walter stayed quiet, but when his eyes moved toward the barn, the man noticed and dragged him outside. There he attacked Walter, proving he was not a detective, but a greedy man using May. Walter was caught between this violent stranger and the uncles who treated him like family. When the man relaxed for a second, Walter escaped, but he was caught again. Suddenly, the old lion rushed in and attacked the man to save Walter. By the time the uncles arrived, the fight was over. The man survived, but the lion died from exhaustion. Walter cried. The next morning, Walter buried the lion in the cornfield with respect. He packed his things to leave with his mother. The animals gathered around him as if they didn't want him to go. The car drove away and Hub grew angry, wishing they could have kept Walter because May wasn't a good guardian. Inside the car, Walter felt heartbroken knowing his mother still wanted to stay with the man who almost killed him. Unable to bear it, Walter jumped out of the moving car. May chased after him. Walter didn't understand why she stayed with people who hurt her. She wasn't choosing pain on purpose. She only knew how to survive that way. But when Walter asked her to choose a better life, she finally understood. Walter returned to the farm and gave the uncles 3 rules. They had to stay involved in his life until he finished college, eat healthier food, and stop doing dangerous things. The uncles agreed. Years passed. Walter finished school and became a comic artist. One day the police called. The uncles had taken an old airplane for one last adventure. Their landing failed, but they passed away quickly and happily, doing what they loved. Walter returned to the farm and received their will. They left everything to him and asked to be buried beside the lion. As Walter stood in the cornfield, a helicopter landed. A man stepped out and said his grandfather, the Sheikh, often spoke about 2 brave Americans he once knew. He came to honor them. Walter then understood that all the uncle's wild stories were true. Walter smiled with him, knowing they might one day create their own unforgettable story too.